Hey folks, thanks for clicking on the video. This is my Robens Chaser 1 tent. I've had this tent now for probably about a year and I've used it on pretty much all of my mountain trips. I go camping quite regularly. You know, if I'm going in a woodland or something, this isn't called for. This is my high level summit tent, as it were. I used to have a Hilleberg Akto, like a 10-year-old one. It was third hand and I spent quite a lot of money buying it, and when it broke I needed to replace it and I didn't have a spare £800 to spend on a Hilleberg Akto, so I got myself one of these, the Robens Chaser 1, and these are half the price of a Hilleberg Akto, so theory being it's only half as good, but that is not the case. I say I've used this non-stop for a year and I think it's as good. In some areas it's better than my Hilleberg Akto, and in some areas it's maybe not quite as good, but overall I'd say it's on a par. I think it's just as good. It doesn't have the solid inner, it's got a mesh inner, but it has more pitching options, and I think there's a touch more room inside the main bit of the tent. The vestibule part is maybe a touch smaller, but overall they're about the same size. They're a very similar design. I say Robens, they're a Danish company, and yeah, I got a lot of time for this tent. I like it. I've been on top of a mountain in this in horrendous weather and I felt very safe. So, you know, that says it all really. These are wind rated, I think it's 200 kilometers an hour these have been tested to, and they will retain their shape up to 200 kilometers an hour wind. So, you know, it's not going anywhere. When you're a long way away from home, up high, that's the sort of peace of mind you want. So let's have a look around. I'll take you through the pitching, because that's pretty simple, and then we'll have a look around inside and I'll show you some of its key features. So in terms of pack size, you can see it's pretty small. This is about 35 centimeters long and probably about 12 centimeters in diameter, and weight wise 1.25 kilos, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's lighter than my Hilleberg Akto, which comes in at 1.4 kilos. So in that score, you know, this is beating the Hilleberg. Okay, so this is pretty quick to pitch, to be fair. Let's have a look at what we get in the pack. This is an all-in-one pitch. You've got one single pole and then you've got some pegs. Now for safety, you know, because I use this in the mountains, I added 4 of these, whatever you call them, but more substantial pegs, shall we say, just for those particularly windy and boggy days. So I think they're a good addition. Now the pegs they give you are these, I guess they're kind of aluminium pegs, but they've just got the little hook on them, but they're kind of the compromise, you know, they're pretty strong, they're square, but they're lightweight. You also get one of these pole repair kit thingies that, you know, if your pole snapped you could slide this over it, and you know, that would do for the evening. In windy conditions, you know, I grab one of these yellow pegs and I'll just stick one in the corner just to stop it from blowing away. So, straightforward pitch, peg out 2 ends, and get your pole in. Say it's a one single pole job. And this is an anodised aluminium T6 pole. So, where are we? So you've got a little slot here, and then you've got this metal clip here. So your pole slides up through there. Push it all the way through. Grab the metal clip, and that just sits in there. Around the other side, you've got another one of these little metal loops. Put your pole in there. Job done for a minute. grab the other end and peg that in. Right. And then under here, part of the inner, there's another one of these metal clips. Same that side. And then in this bit here, there's a couple of little poles. Now they are removable, because obviously when you pitch it different ways, you use those poles differently. But they sit in a little sleeve in there, and I've put them in once and they just stay in there. So once they're in, just pull this out and then you start to get your shape. Same this end. Just, you need to readjust them. Add that. And you've got your side guy lines. That's essentially it, and then it's just a little bit of fettling. Got these tensioners here to just tug on, get that nice and tight. Guy lines as well. Just whiz around the whole thing. Pull everything nice and tight. That's about it. And I always end up with two spare pegs, but I think they're for the sides, you know, to just peg in those bits, but I never really use them. And that's it. That's the Chaser 1 pitched as a standard tent, and yeah, you know, it's pretty tight. And that took me, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. So, you know, fair enough, it's not mega windy. I'm in a garden, so, you know, nice and easy, but top of a mountain in a gale, it still doesn't take very long, and yeah, it goes up really well, really tight. Everything kind of makes sense on it. There are some fiddly bits, it must be said, you know, these bits by the door, you know, getting them in when it's blowing and flapping and all, they can be a bit tight. But what I've learned to do is to slacken everything right off before I take it down, because if I forget, then it's at its tightest setting, so you're really trying to squeeze stuff in, and it's not good for it. So I say these, I loosen them right off, I loosen off all the guy lines, all the tension puller things, you know, just loosen everything off when you're done with it, then when you do go to pitch it, it's much, much easier. But yeah, let's have a look inside. In terms of ventilation, got one of these at each end. There's a toggle under there. Just pop that up like that, and you've got a little bit of exposed. That's part of the bathtub, but the mesh is just there, so it still retains its waterproofing, but you've got some airflow. That's decent. And you just pop it down when you're done. So the Flysheet is hydrostatic NRST 20D nylon, 380T ripstop nylon, which is siliconized on the outside and PU on the inside, and we got taped seams with a hydrostatic head of 2000 millimeters. And this is obviously a one-person tent, as we all know. So you've got a storm flap on the door. It's chucking it down. I need to get inside. what I like about the door is you have two toggles to keep the door open and it doesn't flap in any way, which is amazing. It's the only tent I've had where this bit doesn't flap, which is very cool. And the inner unzips completely, rolls up, and stuffs in that little pocket, and again, totally out of the way and not flapping everywhere. Oh, I need to get in. Well, let's talk dimensions, right? This tent, you got the door at this end where I'm sat, and it's slightly wider at this end. I think it's 70 centimetres acrossways here and 50 centimetres at the foot end, which is, you know, technically how you're supposed to lay in it. I sleep with my head at the foot end just because that's how I'm comfortable. I like to be in the little cave section, but yeah, strictly speaking, head end is the door end. What we also have in here is a gear rack. So there's a little hook here, and you just pull that tight and it gives you a line that goes across there and it runs all the way down this side here for hanging up wet gear and stuff. So that's a really cool feature, and I've used this on trips and works really well. You can also just hang stuff off it like a light or whatever, so that's pretty cool. So height wise we're at 90 or 95 centimetres, so I can sit up. My head is just about touching the top mesh, but it's not uncomfortable. I can be, you know, sitting in a dry place upright, which is, you know, always a plus. And we've got a mesh interior, which I wasn't a massive fan of the mesh interior when I first got it, but it's actually not bad at all. I thought maybe I would feel the cold, you know, winters in the mountains. You know, I thought, is it a 4-season inner? But it's okay actually. I've been warm enough in here in the winter time. You know, this is a 20D, what do they call it, a B3 nylon breathable mesh, and the bathtub part of it is also a 20D nylon. It's a ripstop, and it's a 5,000mm hydrostatic head. So, you know, weather-wise, I think it does okay. It's pretty good. Where it falls down a little compared with my Akto is the vestibule area. You know, this is a bit smaller than my Hilliberg. I think that had an extra maybe 10-20 centimetres on this, but it is big enough. I have cooked in here, just, you know, rehydrating food and stuff, but I've done it in here zipped in. What you do have for ventilation wise, you know, if you are tent down and you're cooking, is, you know, this sort of the two-way zip on here. So you can, you know, have this top bit open whilst cooking down inside here, and you know, let all your fumes out. So that's pretty good. Yeah, as I say though, one of the best things about this tent really is the ability to have all this flappy gubbins just out the way. You know, two toggles. The amount of tents I've had where they've just had one toggle in the middle and it either flaps at that end or drops down here. You know, having two just makes so much sense. I don't know why more tents don't have that. Yeah. You've also got this little hood pit up here, which I just tipped all over myself, so that's nice. But yeah, not much more to say really. It's a very good tent, and you know, is it as good as an Akto? I think it is. You know, I really genuinely think it is. Having used both, you know, I've got experience with both tents. There are things on this, you know, these guy lines and all, they feel a lot finer than the Akto ones, but it hasn't felt any less safe. You know, not having the 4-season inner, that sort of stuck in my head when I first got this as maybe an issue, but it hasn't been. It's been totally fine. And maybe it takes an extra minute's pitch with all the little fiddly bits, because all these bits are, you know, this sort of thin material is everywhere, so they do get a little bit tangled when you stuffed it into a bag. But, you know, an extra minute pitching, it's no big deal really. And you have got a little bit of storage in here. Got a little pocket on the side here for your phone and whatnot. I say there is a lantern hanger up on the top there. I'm getting wet again. So This is a difficult video to make. But one of this tent's main selling points is the fact that you can pitch it 4 different ways. So you can pitch it inner only, you can pitch it outer only, and it's already only 1.25 kilos. So to take out an inner or an outer, you know, you can knock a third of that weight off just choosing to use one bit only. What you can also do, I don't know if you can hear me, what you can also do though is you can roll up this front section all the way up to the pole and have half outer and half just mesh. So on those nights where you want to be in a little cocoony bit but looking up at the stars when it's not going to rain, that's amazing. I was hoping to demo that today, but that's clearly not going to happen. I've got my camera under 3 sticks with my coat over it, so yeah, struggling a bit now. Okay. Oh dear. I think I've got to leave this video here. I say I wanted to demonstrate the different ways of pitching it, but the rains are here and they're not going away, so I'll do that another day. I'll do a video on, you know, just its pitching methods. But as a tent, as a summit tent, you know, mountain tent, I feel really safe in that. You know, it's a great place to be when the weather's howling around you. So that's very cool. And considering it's half the price of an Akto, I think it's very close to being as good as an Akto. You know, I can't say more than that. I think it's great. I say it falls down in some places, but it's better in other places. So on balance, I think it's right up there. Now, I got that tent through Outdoor Gear Essentials. I'm not sure if he sells them strictly on his website, but he sourced that one for me and got it, and he got it at a really good price. So if you are interested in that particular tent, I'll put a link in the description to Colin's website, and you know, message him and he'll give you a price. But yeah, it won't be 800 quid, I'll put it that way. Right, thank you very much for watching. Oh, I've got to take that down in the rain. See you later.